What's up, everyone? NanMan here, and we're going to be talking about a silly, fun, competitive combo deck in Modern that's running the most lands that I've seen in a competitive Modern deck, and it's not Amulet Titan. We're going to be talking about Calibrated Blast today. All right, so if this is your first time tuning in for our Modern Meta breakdown, here's how things work. We're going to be going through, talking about the deck list, talking about how the deck is trying to combo off, how it's trying to do the thing that it's trying to do. Above me, you will see some cards are scrolling. They're going through kind of the key components, because as you look at our list, this is running 38 lands, because we don't care about lands, right? The things that we care about are hitting our creatures, and you can see it's the most expensive creatures that are Modern legal. We're not running things that cost less than 12 mana. Now you can look and go, well, there's some Eldrazi out there that are like 10, 11 cost, but we want it to be as much converted mana cost as possible on our creatures because of our combo that we're trying to do. You see, we essentially have 6 spells in this list, and those 6 spells are basically all Calibrated Blast. Now, I'll pull up Calibrated Blast so you guys can be able to see it. It was in our Modern Horizons 2, and it's one of those silliness that's kind of just asking for people to find ways to kind of get some value out of it, and that's of course revealing cards from the top of your library. And to reveal a non-land card, well, we just so happen to be running about 20 or so, 22 to be exact, in this list that are non-lands. That's why we care about having so many lands, because we're trying to filter what is getting hit by Calibrated Blast. Every now and again you're going to get unlucky and you're going to hit another Calibrated Blast. Every now and again you'll hit a Thrones of Chaos, but for the most part you're trying to hit one of those creatures. So you're revealing cards until you reveal one of those non-land cards. Then you're going to put that revealed card on the bottom of your library, or all the other non-land cards on the bottom of your library in a random order, and then whatever card that you have chosen, that revealed card, hopefully it's a creature, you're going to be dealing damage equal to its mana cost to any target. In this case, we're targeting down our opponent with this. All right, our goal is to just blast somebody for 15 damage, because in Modern everybody's fetching, everybody's shocking. They're going to be at 15 very quickly, very easily. So just you're pretty much OTKing somebody. One turn kill, Calibrated Blast, gotcha, if it hits the way it's supposed to. Now, that's the whole point. It does have the flashback for 5, so if it goes a little bit longer, you can be able to cast it again, right? So that is nice too. The Throes of Chaos is a cascade spell, costs 4 mana to be able to do. It also has that retrace. You essentially say, well, if I don't kill you with the first one, I'm going to get you with the second one. It basically doubles up, almost doubles up our Calibrated Blast, right? We've got 2 extra copies in here for doing this, because the only card that we can cascade into is Calibrated Blast with our Throes of Chaos. So it's basically saying we now have 6 copies of Calibrated Blast essentially in the list. But it's really cool to be able to see that we're just hoping to be able to hit, all right, our new Shadow of Mortality. All right, this is a 15 cost card. We're not really caring about casting this outright. We could maybe if it goes long enough, but that's not what our game plan is, right? So this is a 7/7 avatar. It's in our set, the New Capenna stuff. It's if your life total is less than your starting life total, the spell costs X less to cast, where X is the difference, right? So it can make it cheap, but we don't care about that. We just care about hitting a 15 cost creature or a 15 cost spell. Emrakul, of course, is in here, so we see there's our 8 copies of that. All right, we've got our Worm from Original Ravnica. It's a 9/14 Convoke Trample, but this one's nice because this one's our most expensive one here. Well, I guess our third most expensive one, or our third 15 drop, right? So we've got 3 15 drops now in our list, and then our 12 costs in here. Now, hoping not to hit the Scion of Draco, but if it does come up, all right, not a big deal. It also, Scion of Draco costs 2 less to cast for each basic land type among lands you control. We are running Triomes and stuff like that in this list, so you could be pretty cheap and be able to get it out. But again, we're hoping to utilize this for just, hey, here's 12 damage to the face. Now, if you are hitting the Scion, it's basically needing more high cost stuff. So the Scions in there is a nice little extra gotcha. We needed some more damage. Now, in order for this deck to get to the point where we're casting Calibrated Blast, we're casting Throes of Chaos, to hit one of these, we need to stay alive in a meta that's full of a little bit more aggro-y cards. That can be a little bit challenging. So we're relying on utility lands to get there. Now you can look 38 lands, not all of them matter, but we do have some really important stuff. One thing that needs to be noted is that it is running 4 Gemstone Caverns. Now this land is extremely important because you want this in your opening hand, because if it is in your opening hand, you get to be able to just place it onto the battlefield. So that's that kind of added bonus of being able to do that. Now there is that kind of thing. It's got a luck counter on it. You know, so basically, let me just read through it real quick so everybody's on the same page. Gemstone Cavern is in your opening hand, and you're not the starting player. So there is that factor that needs to go into it. You can't just be, oh, I'm on the play, I'm going first, let's be able to just dump down Gemstone Manors. No, it's basically to help balance out of you going second. So that's why that's in here, because there'll be plenty of games where you're going second. But it allows you to kind of cheat it out. If you do this, right, it comes out with Gemstone Cavern on the battlefield, luck counter on it. If you do, exile a card from your hand. With running 38 lands in the deck, it's going to be very easy for us to say, I'm going to chip a land to be able to play this Gemstone Cavern. So getting out fast mana, awesome. We've also got our ability to be having some creatures with our lands. Mishra's Factory, pay 1, becomes a 2/2 assembly worker. Hey, here's a blocker, right? Awesome. Our Soaring City is going to be in here to be able to help bounce things. We've got our Crucible of Defiance is in here to be able to make more blockers, a bunch of 1/1s. We've got Ramanop Ruins for just that little bit of chip damage, especially if we just need that little bit, 2 damage. Pay 4 mana, sack a desert, deal 2 damage to each opponent. Seems pretty great, right? Otherwise, we've also got our Sun Scorched Desert in here. When it enters the battlefield, deals 1 damage to target player. Also counts in that desert, so we could be able to use Ramanop Ruins to sacrifice our Sun Scorched Desert. So that you'll see these utility lands, the reason that they're in here is because they also serve a function. You're not just running 38 basics in this list, right? You need the specific lands to kind of help you out to be able to do the things you want. The other big one, Boseiju Who Endures. We've talked about the power of artifacts and enchantments that are existing in Modern at this point in time, so being able to destroy some of those is really important. Even our sideboard, which we'll get to, has utility lands in it, but the whole idea is to kind of rush out and try to get a Calibrated Blast. Now, sometimes you'll have a hand that's just full of lands. All right, when you're playing this, it's bound to happen. You're running 38 of them, so be aware that mulligans are going to be necessary, but sometimes you might be in a good spot where you say, oh, I have a handful of lands, but I've got a bunch of utility lands, I can keep this hand. So being able to start piloting the deck and playing it will help you out. If you now that we've gotten into Modern, people have seen how well Cascade works, so just be aware that, you know, if you're playing counter Magic and you're running into this, that Throes of Chaos is not what you want to be worried about, because that Cascade will still go off if you are countering it, right? It's going to be just that little downside to it. Now, the Calibrated Blast is the main way to win, so that's what you need to be targeting if you're playing against this deck, especially for players that are playing online. This is one of those lists that you will run into online. It has been adjusted a little bit. It started coming up you know, around the end of last year, 2021, where people were starting to figure it out in December, January time period, and now we're seeing, like with New Capenna, ooh, another 15 drop got added in, so we're going to start seeing this list pop up a lot more, you know, as a fun, just, hey, I'm going to just dome people, right? So if you're into that, this is the list for you, especially because the main way to win is $1, right? There are expensive cards in here, Gemstone Caverns, all right, Emrakul, those are our expensive things, but for the most part, the list other than our lands is not hard to come by. So let's shift gears a little bit. We've been talking about what the deck does. It's a very easy deck to be able to understand the lines. Oh, my goal is to have one of my big stuff in my deck and hit it with Calibrated Blast so I can just dome somebody for 15 damage. Seems very straightforward. Now there has to be some sideboard cards to help us. Of course, we've got additional Beseiju who endures in the sideboard, but Beseiju who shelters all is very important for this list as well, because you can pay 2 life, add a mana to your mana pool. The next spell that you cast that's an instant or sorcery can't be countered, and if we're trying to win off of an instant, right, we need to be able to make sure that can't be countered. So Beseiju who shelters all is a clutch sideboard card. So if you have specific lands to destroy other lands, that could be helping, but you know, with the way that the utility lands work, right, because they're channel abilities, we can't really interact with them the way that we used to be able to interact with decks in Modern. So again, it's all about utility lands here. There's also a couple additional stuff, right? Consign, Oblivion, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, just sort of more delay, bounce spells, crime and punishment here. It's also, hey, I can hit somebody for 5, right, off of these if it comes to it, but being able to reanimate is really nice. It's like with the crime aspect of it, put target creature or enchantment card in an opponent's graveyard into play under your control, so you can, you know, do some shenanigans with that. But the list is fun. If you like the kind of OTK, it's a, you know, silliness to it. I call it a little bit silly. It's a, you know, when you look at a list like this where you see some of the other lists people are playing, right, when we've talked about like Murktide, we've talked about Amulet Titan, we've talked about Hammer Time, these like consistent decks. This deck is not in that same, you know, genre of consistency. This deck has some consistency to it, and we've started to see more people smooth it out and streamline it a little bit more, but it does have a little bit tougher time with that consistency because you're running 38 lands. It's bound to happen. So if you like playing lands, if you like being able to just have an OTK combo just built into your deck, this is the deck for you. You know, let me know what you guys think about the deck. Have you run into it online yet? Have you run into it in paper? Now the paper events are coming out. You know, let me know. Also, do want to let people know that we are going to be heading to Commandfest Richmond coming up in June. So if you want to be able to get some games in, play some Modern, play some Commander, let me know in the comments below. Maybe we'll run into each other when we're at the convention center. But thanks so much for tuning in and watching, guys, and I'll see you guys next game. Thanks for tuning in and watching, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Now, there is other ways that you guys can be able to show your support if you like it. The easiest way is subscribing, hitting those like buttons, letting people know about the video, you know, tweeting about it, all that kind of fun stuff. But if you're feeling like you have money to spare and you want to throw some money to help improve the projects that I work on, you can be able to do that over on Patreon. That's patreon.com/therealNanMan. And you can see all the different rewards and tier stuff that we've got in place to kind of help people out that help us. But I hope you guys have enjoyed all the content that I've been producing, and I'll see you guys next game.